Well, hey there, you must be new in town. Take a second to breathe in that fresh air. Yeah, that's the stuff. It's nothing like that smog-ridden poison you city folk are used to, I'll bet. Come on with me, I'll show you around town and then we can take a seat down to the saloon where you can tell me about the rest of your story. Then, I'll show you around the property. It's a shame about your family member. They were a pillar of this community, and my hope is that you'll be able to follow in their shoes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and welcome to Soul Searching Episode 6, Stardew Valley. Now, I know you were probably expecting to see another Souls-like game, but I wanted to branch out into something new. Ultimately, this series is about exploring games and what they mean to me, what I learned from them, and what you might have learned from them too. It doesn't just have to be about a Souls game, though I promise you there will be more of those in the future. Now, with that in mind, I wanted to explore one of, if not the most popular farming/dating sim on the internet, because it's honestly had a pretty big impact on me personally. Now, I've played Stardew Valley multiple times, all the way through, quote-unquote, twice with the guys, one regular, and then one modded playthrough, and done a single-player run as well, where I went for all achievements, but unfortunately I have not played since the fabled 1.6 release. Now, at the time of this recording, I have 171 hours, which will seem ridiculous for one of two reasons. Either you don't know how I put that many hours, or you're laughing at how few hours I have in the game. Now, with all that out of the way, let's briefly discuss Stardew before I talk about my own experiences and the intentions of its solo developer. The game opens with a passing. The passing of your grandfather, to be exact. You're informed at your corporate desk that he has passed and you have inherited his farmland in Pelican Town. It is here where you're introduced to the townsfolk and the land which you'll be expected to occupy, clean up, and grow on, both physically and metaphorically. The game from this point onwards is a bit of a dating and social simulator with the common activities that you would expect to see, the fishing, foraging, growing crops, mining, and of course, fighting monsters in the caves that you find your ore in. You play the game while getting to know the townsfolk, participate in town and heart events, and gradually bring the town back to life through either the community center or the big corporation known as Jojico. Now, I want to get this out of the way real quick. If you like Jojico, you are dead to me and I do not wish to associate with you. No, I'm kidding. Partially. I do fully understand that it is significantly easier to go with Jojico having done both routes, but to me it absolutely goes against the spirit and theme of the game itself. And I have such a hard time doing a Jojico run if I'm not doing it for efficiency's sake. Even on my all achievements run, which I'll get to later, I did not go with Jojico because I can't bring myself to do it. Now, this game has spawned countless other chill farming games. Some great, and others not so much, but none of them quite reaching the heights of Stardew, as far as I've personally experienced. The first two instances I played of this game, it was with the boys, and our very first time was an unmodded vanilla playthrough. So this first playthrough occurred in early May of 2018, which is, at this point, 6 years, old, which is insane. I hate that it's 6 years old. I can't believe that it's been so long. Now, I do need to mention some context here. This was during the time when I was working with Chris and John at Sunnyside during the summers. So we were all single and not ready to mingle. We played 3 times a week for 3 hours apiece through the whole summer and created one of the longest series on the channel. Of course, the playlist and the channel will be linked in the description down below. I think it came out to like 52 or 54 parts, and I don't want to think about how many hours we have on that farm. Now, the first lesson I really learned was to begin to appreciate sandbox games. So this game taught me a few things, including how to love a sandbox game. Normally, I don't enjoy sandbox games because I don't do well without having a concrete goal or having to set goals for myself. Now, Chris and John were a big part of this because they helped me divide the labor among the three of us. John stayed on the farm, Chris went to the ocean to fish, and I went down to the mines digging and killing monsters, to my heart's content. This helped me to, appreciate the setting goals for myself and understand how to work in this sandbox environment. I gained a sense of self-reliance and discipline to keep myself moving forward toward my objectives. Having guys with me took some of the pressure off, that I normally feel with a sandbox game. Often when I get to this point in a game that it doesn't give me, a set goal or kind of an idea of where I should be going, I tend to get stuck really bad by choice paralysis, and I always feel like I'm not doing the right thing. I've always had a hard time relaxing in this type of environment because I feel so overwhelmed thinking I need to do this, and this. But that wasn't here with Stardew. The fact that I had a small number of tasks and options in general because there were 3 of us helped me have a lot more fun with it. It also felt great to feel like I was contributing to the group. Not necessarily a community, on the wide level, but the group of just the 3 of us working together. Which brings me to my second lesson. Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked on a group project in school where it feels like everyone contributed to almost an equal degree and you don't feel like you were the only one doing everything? Yeah, neither did I until I played with the guys. I've already broken down the division of labor. Basically, they work towards getting the money and occasional treasures, whereas my job centered around gems and tools so we could work faster and complete the community center. This served 2 purposes, the first of which was making me feel useful to the others. Without my work, we wouldn't have had the tools, quite literally, that we would need to succeed, and after a time, I became the second most profitable job, John being the first. Now, I don't want to demean Chris or the noble art that is fishing, but it just doesn't bring in as much money when compared to farming or bringing in ores from the mines. I could tangibly see the effort I was having on the group when one of us went to the Clint to upgrade our tools. It was always kind of awkward because it would sometimes mean that we couldn't fulfill our role for the next, couple days while our tools were being upgraded. Except for Chris, all he had to do was, buy a better fishing rod. And it meant we were left doing someone else's job with them, and it kind of felt weird. There are not many jobs where you are able to see the end result of your work, especially in such a tangible way. And nowhere near as quickly. Gotta love video games. But I experienced all of that, and it was super rewarding. The second part of this is related. I could actually understand what my partners were contributing to the group. John was slow in the beginning, but once he had enough crops and sprinklers and kegs, he made all the money in the world. He also foraged for artifacts and rare items, which was really helpful. Chris would find treasures from the sea and bring home food so we could eat or cook, or even use them in some of the events for the town. And I brought home raw materials as well as search for other treasures found in the mines to help fill the museum collection. I could understand that we were all contributing, and without the efforts of everyone, we wouldn't have upgraded our homes, completed the community center and the museum, or been able to do so many other things. We all had an almost equal hand towards setting common goals. Now again, I say almost equally because John definitely took first place, I was in the middle, and Chris fell behind in terms of, utility and money making, but again, Chris loved fishing and I don't want to take that away from him. The weight of contributions didn't fully hit me until much later when I started my solo farm to work on all achievements, and I was trying to manage everything on my own. I was constantly running out of energy, and often found at the start there wasn't enough time in the day for me to do everything that I wanted to. Having a team meant I could treat the game like a game and not like a job. But I'll delve into that a bit later. Finally, the last lesson I learned is being content and understanding that that's okay to walk away from something, even if you have unfinished business. We had not finished all the obelisks, we had not shipped all the products, we hadn't even seen all the hard events for the townsfolk. But for external reasons, we had to let the series lie there. We were all going back to school and all going to be very busy over the next couple months. Normally, I get the itch to fully complete something, and it gets even stronger the closer I get to finishing it. But I didn't get that with Stardew. Normally, I'm not comfortable walking away from something and just kind of leaving it half complete. But with Stardew, I was able to appreciate what I did and not, focus on what I didn't do, because it's important to recognize what you have done, what you have accomplished, and not always worry about what you haven't. I'm not saying don't think about it at all, but don't make that your main focus. Understand what you have done. Reward yourself for how far you've come. I'm sure you fought 10 times the battles you think you have, or give yourself credit for. I also have personally a very bad need for completion or closure, so not having that traditional end to a game can also be really stressful for me, because I keep looking ahead and not right in front of me. Stardew was certainly the exception, not the rule, but it allowed me to appreciate how far I'd come and what I had done and accomplished. Now, unfortunately for the modded playthrough, it was just the Stardew Valley expanded mod, meaning, there was more locations, more dialogue, a couple characters, and John, Chris, and I decided to do this as the, quote, Animal Farm playthrough, where we were all animals, and used this as an excuse to go with Jojaco for the capitalist route, because, it fit in with the idea of Animal Farm. I hate myself for it. I don't want to ever do the Joja route again, but it had to be done for the sake of achievements and seeing what that ending looked like. Now, I will say here, in our first playthrough, I romanced Emily, in our second playthrough, I romanced Penny, and in my solo playthrough, I romanced Abigail. So, take that for what you will. Now on to my solo adventure. So, as I mentioned, I did do a solo run to get all achievements before the 1.6 update, and have since lost my Steam ribbon, which makes me a not very happy farmer. Now, that is a discussion for another day, but I do want to discuss what I learned through the lens of the intentions of the one man who made all this possible, Eric Barone. Now, I really hope I'm saying your name properly. If I'm not, I do apologize. Eric Barone, also known as Concerned Ape, is the solo developer of Stardew Valley. He has been incredible in crafting such a masterpiece, all because he wanted his own version of Harvest Moon. Yeah, he did all of this because he wanted a newer, better version of a game that he'd felt has lost its way. He spent 5 years developing the game because he wanted to create the best experience that he could, and I believe he absolutely met this goal. So in talking about this solo run, again, I do want to talk about Barone's goals as he went through it, and I wanted to start with the townsfolk. They were all very well fleshed out and have an amazing array of backstories and small heart events for the player to experience. Barone wanted them to feel like real people, so he based many of them on people he had known or met in real life. He also wanted the player to be able to relate to the character, and so had dark themes or undertones in the character's mannerisms, heart events, and actions within the game to make them feel more realistic, not just, oh, happy me, go lucky, blah blah blah. I cannot stress enough how much he has met this goal. I mentioned before that when I played with the guys, we didn't see all the heart events, and part of this was due to their hatred of Linus and willingness to get closer to people they weren't trying to marry. Unless that person was Willie, Chris would have married Willie in a heartbeat. Now for my solo playthrough, however, I wanted to see all the heart events that I could and take them as far as I can. There are some events that you cannot do as they're related to the romance of certain characters, and I had already married Abigail because she eats gems, which are super easy to find for me, and why not marry the Rock Eater? I won't lie, the heart events for many of these characters were amazing to experience, from helping Shane confront his alcoholism to building a new home for Pam. These all felt like real people being put into real situations, outside of maybe Mayor Lewis, but we won't talk about him. And it felt like I actually helped them. I had mentioned previously that I felt like part of a team when I helped the boys. I will say that I did not feel like part of an actual community with this, but it was the closest I've ever come to that feeling in a video game. And no other farming sim since has captured that sort of magic for me. Now, there are two that have come kind of close. Fae Farm is more just in like the gameplay field just a little bit, but Coral Island has definitely come closer in terms of feeling part of that community and having more, fleshed out, more realistic heart events, but it still can't capture that same magic that Stardew brought to the table. Now, I believe this is really one of the main factors that sets it apart from all the others. The level of maturity and realism displayed by the NPCs to make them feel like real people with real stories. I had already mentioned, Coral Island being kind of close, but it doesn't capture the same level of maturity or the same level of unique personality that each of these characters has that make them all feel important in their own way. Even Linus. He was one of the most interesting stories in the game when you chose to listen and help him. I mentioned Linus specifically because he was meant to help players approach people with an open mind. That's absolutely what he did for me. I will admit I always try to have an open mind when it comes to, kind of getting to know new people because I'm a weird guy. And I don't like it when people judge me before even speaking to me, but I've been guilty of doing that in the past. And Linus is the perfect character to embody that ideal. He's a former millionaire who just gave it all away because he chose to live a simpler life. And as of, I think it was the 1.4, 1.5 update, he even adopts Leo to come live with him. Like, he's clearly a man of great responsibility and principles, but most people just see him look at a homeless guy and go, I'm not dealing with this knockoff Fred Flintstone. These are certainly some of the most realistic, while still being, kind of unrealistic at times, stories that I've seen in a video game. And they bring with them characters who have made a lasting, memorable impression that I will not soon forget. Barone wanted Pelican Town to feel like a real, living place. And I believe he achieved this through the meaningful people living there and the changes that you can make to the town. Now, I mentioned previously that you can either go with the community center or Jojaco. Either will bring the town back to prosperity and open up a series of new things for the player to do. This includes unlocking new areas, having new shops, and even building someone a home if you choose to get involved. The town changes from day to day with their routines, and though nothing major changes, without a hard event or seasonal event, the town still feels like a real place, just one cut off from the rest of society and trying to do their best. Now, the note that I wanted to end with was his goal for the game to allow players to feel a sense of actualization, to let them set and attain their own goals within the game. I'm sure that I've already spoken at length about this one previously, so I won't kick a dead horse. The idea that the players get to decide for themselves what they want from the town is great, and the fact that they can side with the Evil Corp, even if I hate it, is an important one to represent the player agency and allow them to write their own story. So, that's all. I'm still trying to pin down what I want this series to be, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I look forward to playing new content from 1.6 and reclaiming my Steam ribbon once again. And I want to leave you on one final note. A thank you. A thank you to you, the listener or viewer of this video, and a thank you to Concerned Ape for all the love and passion that you've poured into this game, because it's brought joy to millions of people around the world, myself included. And I can't say that it was absolutely life-changing, but it was certainly an experience I will never forget, and one that has cemented Stardew as one of my favorite games of all time. Period. That will not change. That will never change. So thank you for writing these stories. Thank you for representing these people. And can we please get Haunted Chocolatier? I need it. I need it so badly. Alright. Enough of that. Thank you once more, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, and Concerned Ape yourself. Really appreciate you making this far. If you haven't already, make sure to do the, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.